Burrhus Frederick Skinner, also known as B.F. Skinner, was cited by Hagblum and others as the most eminent psychologist of the 20th century. B.F. Skinner was born on March 20th, 1904, in the small northeast Pennsylvania railroad town of Susquehanna. He remained living in Susquehanna for his first 18 years of life, living with his lawyer father, housewife mother, and younger brother Edward. Edward died suddenly in his late teens, devastating his parents, but Skinner was relatively unmoved. Throughout his life, Skinner was known as an unusually cool, though intense individual who sustained an unruffled calm and supremely intellectual demeanor. Skinner went off to attend Hamilton College in Clinton, New York after graduating high school. Upon receiving his liberal arts degree in 1926 from Hamilton, he returned to live with his parents to become a writer. Skinner referred to this year after college as the dark year, as he felt he has failed as a writer and did not have a great deal of direction in regards to what he wanted to do with his life. It was during the dark year, though, that Skinner first happened upon writers who embraced a behavioristic philosophy of science. He read an article by H.G. Wells, which studied the contributions of society of Ivan Pavlov, a Russian behavioral psychologist. While Skinner had been considering going to graduate school in psychology, this article solidified his decision. Skinner enrolled at Harvard as a graduate student in psychology in September 1928. During this time, historical developments in the field of psychology paved the way for a new behavioral science. In the early 20th century, there was a shift from psychology as the study of human consciousness to the study of psychology as the study of human behavior. Skinner was fascinated by the work of Pavlov and John Watson and used his first year at Harvard to begin developing his own theories. During his first year of graduate school, Skinner built what became known as the Skinner box, an invention that would eventually play an important role in the field of behavioral psychology. The box was an enclosure in which an experimental animal was housed, containing nothing but a water dish, a lever that controls the food supply, and a delivery chute for food pellets. There was a mechanism for recording the intervals at which the animal paused the lever, as well as one that could be set to deliver the food at any schedule. The behavior was recorded continuously, and the strength of conditioning under various schedules of reinforcement were studied and compared. The Skinner box, along with the broad implications for human behavior that Skinner referred to, brought him to the forefront of psychology quite early in his career. Skinner went on to conduct many experiments, eventually leading him to develop his most well-known theory, operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a theory of learning in which behavior can be changed through the use of reinforcement that is delivered after the desired response. The concept of reinforcement of behavior is the most important element of operant conditioning. Positive reinforcement strengthens the behavior by providing a desirable consequence following the targeted behavior. Thus, the individual learns to demonstrate that behavior in anticipation of receiving a desirable reinforcer. For example, following the correct answer to a question a teacher asked, a student might receive verbal praise and/or a tangible reinforcer, such as a piece of candy. Negative reinforcement also strengthens behavior because it stops or removes an unpleasant experience. An example of negative reinforcement would be obeying the speed limit in order to avoid getting a speeding ticket, which will cost money. We can also think of negative reinforcement as natural consequences. Skinner found that the schedule, or how often the reinforcement was delivered, and what interval, can strengthen or weaken a behavior. Finally, Skinner developed a method of shaping to provide guidance on acquiring more complex types of behaviors. Shaping is the process of gradually refining a response by successfully reinforcing closer versions of it. Shaping can be a very powerful tool for teaching new behaviors. Skinner's theory provides an explanation for motivation, as it is based on external conditions. In the workplace, this might appear as external factors such as pay raises and promotions. Skinner's theory of reinforcement provides a good explanation of human behavior. Research has demonstrated that reinforcement delivered in an interval schedule is very powerful. This theory has been applied in many settings, including education, work, and even recreation. Skinner's theory has not gone without criticism. One criticism of the theory is related to the use of punishment, as it can be difficult to apply. All incorrect responses must be responded to with punishment for it to be effective. Some theorists have criticized this theory because they believe that making mistakes and working through a problem-solving process are how we learn. Others have concerns that a child may become too reliant on delivery of a desired reinforcer in order to perform a behavior. If tangible reinforcers are not phased to either verbal praise or intrinsic motivation, the person will only perform the behavior when reinforcement is going to be delivered. Additionally, it can be difficult to identify the reinforcers or punishment that work for each person. Skinner expressed no interest in understanding the behavior psyche. He was a strict behaviorist, as John Watson, and he sought only to determine how behavior is caused by external forces. He believed everything we do and are is shaped by our experiences of punishment and reward. He believed that the mind, as opposed to the brain, and other subjective phenomena were simply matters of language. They didn't really exist. Skinner was known for making audacious statements on this matter, and others, following in Watson's tradition of being provocative, controversial, and an excellent publicist of his ideas. A learning theory that uses some elements of behaviorist theory is social learning theory by Albert Bandura. Bandura's theory suggests that people learn through observing others' behavior, attitudes, and outcomes of those behaviors. This theory has similarity to Skinner's theory because they both involve motivators or reinforcers. Bandura believed that the world and a person's behavior cause each other, while Skinner's theory states that one's environment causes one's behavior. Bandura's theory is known as reciprocal determinism. Bandura's social learning behaviors take into account many additional factors, including moral thinking, moral judgments, and self-efficacy, all components that are not a part of Skinner's learning theory. Bandura's theory humanizes learning, while Skinner's theory is basically a simple cause and effect model. B.F. Skinner has had a profound impact in the field of psychology and learning today. His work is often seen in educational settings in many realms: classroom management, instructional methodology for children with autism, and instructional techniques such as direct instruction. As a school psychologist, I have always been a fan of Skinner's theories. I was exposed to the basic tenets of operant conditioning in my special education coursework as an undergraduate student. The field of school psychology has been heavily influenced by Skinner's theories. Over the years, I have written many behavior plans with the delivery of reinforcement and shaping as a major component of the plan to teach desirable behavior. Today, I continue to look to this theory of learning when working to see desirable behaviors at a higher rate. In schools, the tenets of positive behavior intervention supports, or PBIS, can be definitively linked to operant conditioning. Several years ago, when I started working with students with autism, I was introduced to a teaching methodology, applied behavioral analysis, or ABA. ABA is a direct instruction technique that is used to teach social, academic, and behavioral skills through the use of reinforcement. ABA is a very discrete method of instruction and is ultimately based on operant conditioning. ABA has proven to be very effective to teach discrete skills, but does not come without criticism. It is often difficult to generalize these skills. It is expensive and time-consuming. I have always identified with behavioral theory, which is probably why I am a fan of the PBIS movement. However, I am not strictly a behaviorist, and I do agree with Bandura's theory in that learning is social and interactive. I identify with many different theories of learning, taking on somewhat of an eclectic approach. With that said, it is clear that B.F. Skinner has had a profound and important impact on the field of learning as we know it today.